Hi, I am Dr. Tranquility Lydia. Welcome to Dr. Tranquility Talks, Conscious Dating and Relationships. And today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Allison Charles. She's a best-selling author, a renowned, internationally renowned shaman. She has a podcast that is just amazing, which we're going to get into with her. It's called Ceremony Circle. And she's coming out with a fascinating book that we're going to be talking about today, in addition to her practices. She's known as the rock star shaman, and that's her shamanic medicine and calling works with the wisdoms of the great Mother Earth, the great spirit source, where they instructed her to use the name Rockstar Shaman. So, and they know what they're talking about. So we're going to listen to them. And I invite you to welcome Allison Charles.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely intro, and I was vibing to your intro music. That's a
I
good
love
beat you
that.
have.
Yes, he's a young DJ and beat called Reston Beats, and it's Reston on the Beats at Gmail, and he's got some wonderful stuff that I use in my session work,
Amazing.
in hypnotic anesthesiology and hypnotherapy. So
Beautiful.
yeah, I really love him. So first of all, I have to ask you, what is the impetus for your work?
Mm. Yes, that's the question. I mean, the impetus really is me after many years of living in denial and illusion and fighting against having my, true divine powers being expressing. I finally surrendered and got out of my own way and got into alignment with my spiritual calling this lifetime and my earth mission, and
Mhm.
just got into total devotion of working with those places that you were describing in the intro, Great Mother Earth and Great Spirit Source, and of course, my own heart and soul. And so, through doing what I know I am here to do, I just do my best to be of service for all and to hold a safe space for people to explore the fullness of themselves. And I guess that's the tightest nutshell I can whittle it down into.
Yes, because there's so much. You do such wonderful work, and it's so vast. You're in virtually every media form.
Mm,
And speaking of media forms, you have been on and promoted by virtually everyone out there, from
mm,
Oprah magazine to Elle to Amazon and New York Times, and just goes on and on and on and on and on. Pop Sugar. And, Oprah Magazine named you. Well, you know what they named you, but I'm telling this to everyone else.
mhm,
Oprah Magazine um, uh, named your guided shamanic journey a top meditation to try. Forbes called you a leading shaman for expanding others into their full gifts and power. So, is that how you see yourself, expanding others into their full gifts? I know you said you hold space for. So,
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely one of my strongest spiritual gifts and abilities is that, like I said, I've been in such devotion to living by the calls and instructions of divine and great Mother Earth and my own soul. And I've been doing it for so many lifetimes and so many years. This particular lifetime embodiment for me is one of, if not the biggest keys in walking the spiritual path. And because I am in such embodiment of expanding myself into, the fullest expressions of my divine power and and strengths, that I know that I absolutely am that permission slip for others to just keep expanding beyond what they think is possible for their lives, and reminding them that it is truly infinite, the ways in which we can explore ourselves, the ways in which we can explore the seen world and also the unseen realms. It's really a never ending, fascinating adventure. If if we don't beat up ourselves too much along the way and get out of trying to be perfect and do some healing work around people pleasing and so many different aspects, we can finally liberate ourselves to figuring out, what am I really here to do? And letting our soul guide us along the way.
That's amazing. So, shaking loose, one of the things you talk about is shaking loose self imposed limitations
Mm.
and sharing in the mastery of the art of being an alchemist. So, what is that
Oh my goodness, it's so much. Let me tune into that. I
like?
mean, yeah, because before I had my divine intervention and spiritual awakening moment, which for me, they were simultaneous experiences that lifted the veil, obliterated my egoic shell, dropped me to my knees, but also provided the greatest miraculous moment, all in one experience that I had many years ago. But before that, because I was living in so much denial and illusion and suppressing my spiritual gifts and truths, I was really lying to myself a lot and kidding myself around what my limitations are. I just wasn't letting myself see the truth. And once I had my awakening and really finally got into a place of true conscious awareness, so I could watch those unconscious and or conscious behaviors that
Mhm.
try to creep in, because our ego likes familiarity. Our human mind and our ego likes to know what's going on. It likes to know the next step. It likes to know where it's comfortable. And the spiritual path, the hero's journey, is kind of the total opposite of that. And so once you get into a place of surrender and conscious awareness, then you can let yourself see when those unconscious behaviors and patterns start to creep in to get you to limit yourself, to get you to stay in a tighter box than you're designed to, and all of those
Mhm.
things. So yeah, I'm just really committed to getting out of my own way and, really truly whatever instruction, guidance, message that the divine gives me, I heed it. And oftentimes those messages can feel really strange. They can feel incredibly confronting. They can feel um, odd or like they don't make logical sense. But I have learned to trust those messages that I get sent. And I know that they're always guiding me in the greatest of ways. And the second part, after the limiting beliefs one, what was the other part of that question? There was another
The limiting beliefs and being in sharing in the mastery of the art of being an
Oh,
alchemist.
alchemist. Yeah, alchemy. Oh my gosh. I've had a lot of initiations and rites of passage and walking through a lot of fires on this path. And oh boy, another aspect that I've really learned to trust is that when you're walking through a fire or a confronting experience where you're really, the deepest wounds are coming up to be faced or healed or transmuted, or you're facing your greatest fears that you've been avoiding facing for such a long time, but you encounter a scenario where you just can't help but finally face it and walk and chew your way through all the uncomfortability all the way through it to get to the other side. And that really is the art of alchemy, where you can feel in the beginning fear or lower realm emotions that aren't comfortable, but you learn to trust the process and you learn to trust yourself that you can navigate and find your way through anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, certainly along the way, there are probably different prayers or rituals or practices that help you. Do the best you can to stay in your center,
Yes.
so you don't revert back. But if you walk all the way through it, you become a true alchemist of shifting experiences from fear to love and
Mm.
finding your way back to unconditional love and letting even the most challenging experiences ascend you. That is my definition of being an alchemist.
Wonderful. Wow, that's a definition. And it takes you it takes you from suffering to surrender to service.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And and I love that you brought that up because in my pre-awakening life there was a lot of suffering. I was in a relationship that was very dysfunctional and very toxic, and there was a lot of codependency on my end and a lot of addiction issues on my previous partners, and just I mean, we were together for almost 2 decades, and so the suffering and the anguish really only seemed to grow and grow, and it was basically a cycle of insanity that we were struggling to get ourselves out of. And so,
Mhm.
yes, that was the suffering part. And then finally, through my loving guides who came in to have that divine intervention with me on that one fateful day in Brooklyn, through that experience and seeing the truth of myself and the relationship and earth life, that gave me the courage to have my surrender moment where I spoke a surrender statement to Great Spirit. And you can do it to whoever you talk to: God, Goddess, Universe, Source, Great Mother Earth. I spoke to Great Spirit, Great Mother Earth, and my own being. And I said, okay, I'm not the person I thought I was. I'm ready to get out of my own way, and I'm ready to receive in your support and to be in a co-creative experience. And so that was the surrender part. And then in answering and heeding the guidance through me being in surrender, I am now able to be of service. So it's quite a journey.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know I was listening to, I'm trying to think of the young woman's name in her podcast the other day where you appeared and you talked about that experience in Brooklyn and the great
Mm,
awakening for you, the beginning of, um, and the
yes.
acceptance of where
Yes,
you were. And it was
totally.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was my, greatest life-changing day. And there's a lot of details to the story which I am happy to share when time permits, because it's hard to whittle that one down into a few seconds. But I will say, in that day, my clairaudient gift, my ability to hear spirit speak to me, got turned on, and through me listening to the instructions and my clairaudient ability, I was guided to a certain experience and facing my greatest fears this lifetime, and just finally getting into a place of soul readiness to see some really graphic, scary proof of facing my greatest fears. And it was through going into that cave. I love the Joseph Campbell quote, really works well for that scenario I was in. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And through finally, after almost 2 decades of being too scared to face what was really going on in that previous relationship, and seeing the proof of what had been going on, that is the experience, the alchemy my being needed to finally, wake me up and snap me out of all of the denial. And yeah, it completely
Yeah.
changed the course of my life. And it was through that experience and after I surrendered that the power animal world came in as my guides.
And that's the piece that I really want to talk with you about a lot today, because that's the basis of your book,
Hmm.
Animal Power. And
Yes.
that's the name of her book, published by Chronicle Books, is now available on her site, AlisonCharles.com, and everywhere, Barnes and Noble and Amazon and all sorts of booksellers and small booksellers, independent booksellers. So we salute and celebrate them as well. Can
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about Animal Power?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely the greatest birthing of my career, and I worked on it I mean, it's definitely many lifetimes in the making, but this lifetime, I wrote it for almost 4 years. And even before I actually started to write it, there was another, 3 to 4 years before that where that's when I was living in New York City for a long time. And I was taking a lot of meetings with incredible literary agents and publishers. I just could not get clear on the concept. And it was quite frustrating because I'm always been a natural writer. And so going that many years without being able to get the download or clarity as to what my first book should be was rough. But I learned to trust the process, of course. And then I finally aligned with the right agents. And in conversing with them, I realized, oh, my first book, it's going to be about surrender, right? Because that was the decision that I made and that everyone can make if it resonates, it can change their life. So I flew off to Bali to write my book on surrender. And the first day that I landed in Bali, the power animal world came to me while I was in my morning meditation, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. I mean, probably actually thousands. It was as far as I
Wow.
could see animals. And they said, so that book you think you're writing, that's a great idea and all, but that's not the book. Yes. So talk about surrender. I had to let go of the book on surrender and listen to the call of the power animal world. They asked me to
Wow.
co-create this new modern day guidebook. It's Animal Power: 100 Animals to Energize Your Life and Awaken Your Soul. And so, yeah, it features 100 different animals. Each one has beautiful, vibrant, embodied artwork. And then there's different energy medicine messages that the animals share, because each animal has different healing attributes and wisdom teachings. And it's just a very beautiful, powerful, comprehensive medicine book to learn how to receive. When animals come to you, whether it's in a dream or in your waking life, all of a sudden over the course of the week you see eagles everywhere, or someone keeps talking about ladybugs, and then you open a magazine, there's a picture of a ladybug. These are all signs that a particular animal is trying to assist you in your life right now. And so
Mm.
go to Animal Power as a reference book and learn, why is this animal showing up for me? And then there's a power practice for each one. If you really want to go deep and do a ritual or ceremony or meditation with that animal, uh, that really can strengthen the connection line, because the power animals really like the invitation. They will
Oh,
reveal
okay.
themselves, but they come in much stronger if we say to the animal realm, I am ready to work with you, or to a particular one. Because the other great thing about the book is once you start to learn what different animals represent, depending upon what you're going through in life, you can
Mhm.
learn which animal to call forward to help you with a certain scenario. So calling them,
Wonderful.
they love that.
Oh, I loved it. It was funny because when I was doing some research for this interview, initially I saw the peacock and I thought, oh, the peacock. And then I saw the skunk and I had just seen a skunk.
Oh,
And I
love
was
it.
like, okay. And it was pulling me. I mean, it was this visceral kind of
Mhm.
skunk, go to the skunk. And then when I saw the beetle, it was kind of secondary, but very powerful.
Yep.
And it was really interesting. So I can't wait to get my copy of the book.
Oh, I love it. And did those animals come to you in a guided shamanic journey, or just how
I
did they
was
reveal?
I was meditating
Beautiful.
and I saw them. And then when I looked on your site and I was looking at the book on Amazon, I saw these animals and I thought, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, well, I have the book right here. So for those watching
Good.
the video, here's the skunk artwork.
Skunk.
Isn't that gorgeous?
William Santiago did an amazing illustration job. I mean, he's so talented.
So talented. And I'm so glad you brought his name into the sacred space that we're sharing in, because he was only 30 years old, lived in Brazil, and right upon completing the artwork for this book, he actually passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and I honor him. I mean, that's his.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was quite an unexpected occurrence, to have with this book. But the day that I got the news, I went outside to honor him and to speak to him. And about 10, 15 seconds into doing so, a huge hawk flew just over my head. And I knew as soon as it flew overhead, I could
Wow.
feel it was his presence. And so we did create, my publisher and I, Chronicle, we created 150 limited edition posters that feature the hawk artwork that he created. And we put the hawk on there. And then I share just at the bottom the story of how he came as the hawk, right as he transitioned into the other realms. And so, needless to say, this book is a very powerful medicine book that embodies life and death and the allness, which is a lot about what shamanism is. And so thank you for bringing up William's name, and I'm glad we
Yeah.
got to chat
No,
about
I had to.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
felt it. And I saw the
yeah,
images. So,
so
and then,
powerful.
yeah, I'm
And
moving.
can I tell you about the skunk because it's
Please.
like really like wanting to be spoken of? So
Absolutely.
some of the keywords that skunk represents are self-love, respect and honor, and the one that was coming in when you first shared that it revealed for you were healthy boundaries. Skunk is like the
Ah,
master at healthy boundaries. Yes.
yes, I understand what that's about.
Okay, okay, I had a feeling you would.
Thank you, skunk.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I
so
understand.
it has, as I shared too, along with the art, then over on this side is all of the information and the messages. So let's see if typically with each animal, there's anywhere from 5 to 8 messages that the animal shares. So let me see if there's one that jumps out. This one jumped out, so I'll just go with it. It says, "Is it time for you to stand up for yourself? Work with me to peacefully and powerfully convey your stance and perspective. You deserve respect."
Yes, I had to wince as you said that because it is in in a particular area. It is.
All
And
right.
so that's so funny. And I've been vacillating a little bit on the boundary line, going, where does it fall? Where does it fall? Where am I overbearing? Where am I not being strong enough? So
Totally.
that was a beautiful one.
Hmm.
And we have a little bit of time. We can run a little bit longer if you have the time. I wanted to get into your Ceremony Circle podcast,
Hmm.
and you're doing some beautiful work on there as
Thank
well
you.
as your online courses in spirituality. But tell us
Thank
more
you.
about your podcast.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a newer birthing as well. It's funny because you and I have known of each other for a long time, and my back story before I had my awakening, I was actually a radio host at a hip hop station for many years, and then I became a television talk show host. And so when podcasts started to emerge, a lot of my closest friends and colleagues right out of the gate, they launched theirs. And so they've been doing it for 6, 7 years at this point, and, millions and millions of downloads. And along the way, they would say, "Allison, you're a radio host, you're a TV host. Where's your podcast?" And I really felt into it a number of times. And for many years, I did not feel the genuine call. And I really only do things if I feel divinely instructed to. So while I was a little perplexed that I wasn't feeling inspired to, I went with it. But then finally, starting about 2 years ago, I could feel the call coming in. And so then I started to set the intention when I would go on nature walks. I would, ask actually for different animals to come in and give me a sign if it was time and what I should call it. And the one nature walk that I did specifically with that intention, right when I got down to the river, this huge frog, like a big fatty frog, jumped from the bank and leapt forward and across the water to the other side. And
Oh.
frogs represent leaps of faith. And they can only leap forward. They don't move backwards. So I really took that as a sign. So frog helped me get clarity. And then I was just upstairs in the house that my partner and I used to have in LA. And we were just chatting casually. And somehow one of us said ceremony circle. And we both looked at each other and we knew, we are like, that's the name. And then I went to see if any other podcast was called that. None were. And ceremonycircle.com was available, which to me, what are the
Hello.
chances? I mean,
Very rare.
Wa ceremony circle, it's the
Circle.
world's
I
oldest
know.
practice. How is the .com there? So I
It
was like,
was waiting
"Okay."
for you.
Totally. And so, yeah, so then I decided to go for it, which as you know, as a host, it's a big commitment to,
Mhm.
decide to have this as a main offering. But I did, and I launched it, I believe, in February, and it's been really good to get back on the mic and to start doing interviews again. And Yeah, I have
Look at
different.
that smile, Allison.
It does feel good. Thank you for reminding
Yeah.
me. Yeah, to
Yeah.
have different spiritual teachers and shamans from all over the world, all different, walks of life, talking about, rituals and their awakening moments. And it's been a lot of fun.
I just got chills just listening to you and seeing
Mm.
your joy.
Mm.
So it's wonderful to see. I'm
Thank
so happy
you.
for you. And Animal Power is going to become a deck.
Yes, yes, I'm so
Tell us
glad
about that.
you knew to bring that up. Yeah, not not many people know that yet. I've been so focused, the book just got launched, and so I've been so focused on that, yeah, it's also important to let people know that in the spring, I believe early March is the date we've decided to have Animal Power card deck go out, and yeah, so it features 75 animals and different messages and invocations that you can say, to get in closer communing with the animal. And it's a divination deck where I just want people to learn how to trust their own intuition. I didn't want my deck to be one that had a lot of rules and a lot of specific layouts that you have to use this many cards and put it in this formation of a spread. And there's nothing wrong with card decks that do that. I just felt really clear that for Animal Power card deck, bring the deck up to your heart, connect with your breath in your heart, get clear on the question that you want to ask, or if you just want to let the animals reveal the message that will serve your highest, greatest good, whatever it is. Once that's clear in between the deck and your heart, keep your eyes closed. And I typically knock on the top of the deck 3 times just to clear any stagnant energy. And then I just start to shuffle through and I let my intuition guide me. Is it just one card? Is it 3 cards? Is it 5? And do you want to keep them at your altar all day so you can return back to them? Do you want to carry one all day with you in your purse as you're running errands? Just let the divination powers of the unseen realms and the animals in your own soul guide you with how you want to work with it.
Amazing. I love it. Well, I'm excited. I want to get the deck the minute it comes out.
Oh,
I'm
thank
very excited about that. And I'm excited about your book. I can't wait to receive my copy. It's
It's coming
amazing.
soon. Yeah, I
And
can't wait. I'm especially excited for you to get it. Before we started recording, yeah, I was letting her know, please let me know how it communes with you and what comes up for you, because I know for me, even though I wrote it, I'm being honest, when I sit at my altar and work with it every morning, on more than one occasion, I've been moved to tears. It's very embodied and a very clear energy. So I'm very curious when other people finally have it in their hands, what their experience is with it.
amazing. And there's a young woman that I love. And so she's helping. I don't know if you guys can see this on screen. Where am I going? I'm going here. It's called Lifted.
Yeah.
And she does a brand of infused teas
Ooh,
with
nice.
CBD and cannabis. And she wants to send you a lovely basket. So I'll get your information
Great.
off air.
Oh, I
Um,
drink tea all day, every day. I haven't done coffee in years, so I look forward to trying her creation.
Yes. So she's a sponsor today, along with Date Therapy for Satori PR. And I thank them. Well, me, I'm Date Therapy for Satori PR. And I thank Lifted Teas as well. Allison Charles, it has been so wonderful to have you. I feel like we can do so much more. Um,
Yes,
this has been
definitely.
wonderful. And thank you for sharing the animal deck and the, I'm excited, and your
Mm.
book
Here
about
it
animal
is.
power.
There's the
It's
cover.
beautiful backstory, and you're a wonderful shaman. I remember just when I went to hear you speak that first night, and I thought just how powerfully moving you were.
Mm.
And I was a bit caught up in my own head in the head of the day. And I got there, and all of a sudden, my stuff went out the door, and I was riveted by listening to what you had to share and what you had to say. And I
Mm.
noticed the women in the group also were the same way, and here we were at Bergdorf's. No, not Bergdorf's, Barney's.
Barney's, I know, of all
Barney's.
places to have a shamanic event, that
And to come together at Barney's and then have that sort of moment, even in a Barney's, was spoke to me of the power
Mhm.
of your work and the blessing of your work and the blessing of you to bring us this information and to share it. And
Mhm.
that's you're being of service in so many ways. So I thank you very much.
Hmm.
And I thank you for coming on this show.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. From the time you first experienced me, just letting yourself be open, and thank you for being so honoring of me and seeing the purity of me and the truth of me. I really do appreciate that. It helps to refuel my battery sometimes when I know I'm fully seen by another. So, thank you. It was good to reconnect, and thank you so much for your generosity and having me on today.
Well, thank you for your patience and generosity in being on the show. I know you have people clamoring for your attention, especially
Um,
with a new book coming out. And I thank you for honoring Dr. Tranquility Talks with an interview.
Absolutely.
For Dr. Tranquility Talks, I am, and Allison, I'll be right with you if you can stay with me. Oops, that I made you larger. I'm Dr. Tranquility, Lydia Belton, and I thank you for joining me today. Be kind to yourselves. We're too hard on ourselves sometimes. Give yourself a break. Climb down off the cross. Someone could use the wood, and winter is coming. So, to coin a phrase. So, I thank you again for being with us, and we thank our lovely guest, Allison Charles. We thank Lifted, that's at on Instagram, Lifted LFTD, oops, LFTD _ infused teas. Take care of yourselves and have a good day.